Conventional wisdom tells us that in order to lose some weight and be healthy, we should eat 6 small meals a day, or 3 at the very least. And we also live in a society that puts a massive emphasis around food. Many people spend hours a day thinking about their next meal or what they're going to eat next. And many of the health experts have taught us that skipping a meal could actually be very detrimental to our metabolism. But the truth may actually shock you. But before we get started, I'm Dr. Zyrowski, and I'm here to help you transform your health naturally, because true health only comes naturally. About every 3 months, I prepare myself mentally and I embark on a 3 to 4 day water fast. Now, when I tell my patients that a few times a year that I eat no food and I drink nothing but water for multiple days, I always get the same response. Their eyes get big and they go, "That's horrible for you. Why would you do that? Isn't that dangerous?" I always get the same questions, and these are all good questions. I first learned about fasting when I was in school getting my doctorate. Now, throughout the program, we had many nutrition classes. One of the professors that taught one of these nutrition classes was a huge advocate of fasting. He was actually old enough to be taught by one of the pioneers of fasting, one of the legends, guys like Herbert Shelton, guys like Paul Braggs. And he was so intrigued on the topic and saw so much value in fasting that he actually owns one of the very few fasting clinics in the United States, where people who have serious conditions that nobody can seem to help them with go to and fast under supervision for a long period of time. Now, I was so intrigued by this topic, or to even say intrigued would be an understatement, that I couldn't absorb enough information. I'd stay after class in order to learn more. I would go to the office hours of the professor to learn more information and just ask questions. But it wasn't until I had my own health issues that I actually implemented fasting into my own life. When I was in school and I first started doing my clinical patient care, I developed red rashes underneath both of my eyes. Now, as a student doctor, you already have enough on your mind. You're like, am I dressed appropriately? Are the patients going to take me as a young guy seriously? Am I going to be able to get this patient well? Am I doing my paperwork correctly? Your mind is just spinning with all these different thoughts. And then to top it off, I had these rashes, which I just dreaded somebody would ask me about, but it kept happening. People kept asking me if I got hit in the eye. What I did is I started using steroid creams and pretty much any lotion and potion I could find in order to help with the problem, but nothing worked. So this is when I took all my fasting knowledge and decided to put it to work. I mentally prepared myself for a 3-day water fast and jumped in. The first day, I had some mental struggles around food. I kept thinking about it, and my mind really just kept telling me to abort mission, telling me that I was going to starve, but I knew that it wasn't true. Then the second day rolled around, and after a good night's sleep, I woke up feeling pretty energized, lots of mental clarity. And so as I was in the clinic, going between patients and doing copious amounts of notes, I had ran to the bathroom. And when I was in the bathroom, I looked in the mirror, and lo and behold, what I saw is the rash that I had been struggling with for months was gone, completely gone. Wasn't even a trace of it. I was totally blown away at this point because I was just kind of used to living with it. As I saw that, I was totally energized to push forward and do day 3 and day 4 of the fast. It gave me the energy and the stamina. And of course, after the fast was done, I felt really great. And the rash that I had struggled with for months was completely gone and never came back. One of the things that we often forget about is that our bodies are self-healing, self-regulating mechanisms. Our genetics are always striving for better health. The biggest problem is that modern medicine has taught us a little bit differently. Modern medicine has taught us that our bodies are innately flawed and required intervention in order to function properly. Intervention in the way of pharmaceuticals. So this is why most people are programmed. Something goes wrong, get a pharmaceutical. And this, of course, is why the US makes up about 5% of the world's population and consumes upwards of 70% of the world's pharmaceuticals. And by the way, am I the only one who sees something wrong with this? Now, fasting is a different strategy. Fasting is a strategy where you abstain from food and only drink water for a period of time. And during that period of time, your body is doing what it does best. It's striving towards better health. Now, there's many different types of fasting. There's like 16 and 8 intermittent fasting, where you fast for 16 hours and eat all your meals within an 8-hour period. There's 1 meal a day intermittent fasting, where you're going to fast for about 22 to 23 hours, eat all your meals within a 1 to 2 hour period. And then, of course, there's something more. There's 24-hour fasts. There's 48-hour fasts. There's 3-day water fasts, 4-day water fasts, and beyond. So when it comes to fasting, you can really go and choose which level that you want to participate at. It's always beneficial to start very slow with like a 16 and 8 and work into a multiple day fast, but the good news is there's something to fit everybody in the beginning. So when we're fasting, instead of spending 5 to 15% of our energy allocated towards digesting food, that energy is actually used to be more useful in the way of healing and restoring our body. Now, as we're fasting, our bodies enter into what's called a state of ketosis. In this state of ketosis, this is where a metabolic switch is flipped and our bodies change from being a sugar burning system to a fat burning system. As you mobilize these fatty acids and ketones start flowing throughout the body, it offers a lot of benefits to our neurological health, but also our brain health. And it's also pretty great because that means you're burning that unwanted fat on your belly and on your arms for energy, and therefore you're also just shedding fat throughout the whole fast. But something more happens when we fast. That's possibly the most transformative benefit that fasting has to offer. When you enter into a fasted state, your body kickstarts a process known as autophagy. Now, this autophagy is where your body recycles broken down, worn out cells that lead to problems like cancer and disease, and it recycles them so that you can actually utilize them for brand new healthy cells. Now, this all sounds really good, but you're probably asking right now, Dr. Zyrowski, is there any research to back this up, or is this all just hocus pocus? And that's a really good question, and I'll tell you why. Because, back in the day, all we had to go off of was transformative tales of fasting and how people improved their life using it, but we didn't have the solid evidence. But it was enough for people like me to give it a try, but what about using it mainstream in healthcare? I'll tell you what, now we have the research that actually lays it all out. It tells us all the benefits that fasting can offer us in the way of reversing diseases and, not only reversing them, but using it as a treatment method with disease. Also, the physiological changes that occur in the body when you go into a fasted state. And these studies consistently show us the robust disease-modifying efficacy of fasting in many chronic conditions like obesity, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer, neurodegenerative disorders, and so many more. Fasting shows in the research to affect general health indicators and even slow or reverse the aging and disease process. Dr. Thomas Seyfried, the author of a really popular book called Cancer as a Metabolic Disease, he states that doing 2 7-day water fasts a year is enough to keep you completely cancer-free. So sounds pretty simple, right? Simply fast a couple times a year, avoid all these different diseases, avoid the hundreds of thousands of dollars that it costs to treat these diseases, and of course, avoid all the pain and suffering that comes with them. But you know what the problem is? You won't hear any of this information from your standard doctor, and that is why I share this information with you online. When I work with patients, I use all the cutting-edge natural strategies in order to help them reverse their condition, promote longevity, avoid disease, and set themselves up for a future of really good success with their health. And fasting happens to be one of the strategies I use. Now, I get it, fasting can seem a little bit daunting to get started with, but that's why I put together a free 4-video mini course for you in order to kickstart fasting. So get started with that right here. Basically put your digestive system to sleep for a period of time. And that's why you're getting so many of these huge benefits to the body. So when you go and you wake it back up, do it gently, not with a pizza,